Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome on this glorious day. What's up everyone in the chat? Those people live? That's right. Today is, what is today? Today is the 20, oh, not even look at the screen. We don't even get a number. How about that? Well, it is the 26th. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffey Nuance Show. And we're streaming live on YouTube and on Rumble. Keep pushing Rumble. Rumble.com/Coffey Nuance/live. Just bookmark it. But today we are talking about something interesting, you know. I think it's always a treat to dive into the world of international politics, especially when it involves countries like Argentina, which I love. Let's see. Just do a little reset. Yeah, look at us. Oh, here we are. We're live. Cool. Awesome. Good. Anyway, I love talking about Argentina. You know, I was just there. Did you catch the latest headlines? Apparently, they've managed to pull off a budget surplus for the first time in decades. Now, bravo, Argentina. Seriously, that's like trying to find an open mind in the city of Portland. But hold your applause, because behind the curtain of this fiscal miracle lies a cautionary tale. Sure, President Milei might be patting himself on the back for slashing subsidies, tightening the government purse strings. Let's not forget the price tag attached to this success. We've still got skyrocketing inflation, poverty levels through the roof, thousands of public servants left out in the cold. It's like austerity on steroids. And while it might balance the books in the short term, the long-term consequences, who knows what's going to happen? We'll just have to see how this all plays out. Now, let's take a moment to look in the mirror, America. Excuse me. While Argentina grapples with their deficit demons, what are we doing? Oh, that's right. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. It's like we're playing a game of fiscal chicken, just waiting for someone to blink. And don't get me started on the national debt. Last time I checked, it was ballooning to the tune of about $10 billion a day. So our politicians, do they ever mention it? Does a single politician mention it? No. It's like the elephant in the room that everyone's pretending not to see. But here's the thing. The only problems you can fix are the problems you address. We can't keep kicking this can down the road and expect everything to magically work itself out. Argentina's story should serve as a wake-up call for all of us. Because if we don't start having some serious conversations about our fiscal future, we might just find ourselves on the same rocky road to ruin. And that's the hard truth, folks. And now, if you'll excuse me, it's time for a stiff drink and a spreadsheet. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffey Nuance Show, the least watched, censored commentary and news show live right now. Flame on. Oh yeah. What are we, really? Seriously? Well, good news for me. I did finally reach 300 followers on Rumble. So that's kind of cool. That's a milestone. Doesn't mean anybody's watching over there, but you know, at least we reached that milestone. Very cool. So this is the big story of the day. First quarter of 2024, Argentina saw a budget surplus of 275 billion pesos, marking a significant achievement according to President Milei. This is the country's first surplus since 2008, representing 0.2% of the GDP. Milei, an anarcho-capitalist, attributes this success to a policy of fiscal responsibility, arguing that controlling government spending and avoiding excessive money issuance are keys to combating inflation. And this is true for anyone that's taken an Economics 101 class. So it shouldn't be a surprise. Milei, who won the election, with promises of eliminating the deficit, has implemented austerity measures, including cutting subsidies for fuel and energy. However, these measures coincide with soaring inflation, poverty rates, decrease in purchasing power for citizens. The government's budget cuts have led to protests, particularly in the education sector, where universities are facing financial crises due to stagnant funding despite rising costs. University of Buenos Aires, for example, warns it may only be able to function for a few more months under current funding levels. So this is interesting to see play out. Is this side or this side? This side or this side? No. No, I certainly don't. I think maybe it's razor burn or something. But this is going to be interesting to see it play out. You know, I'm in touch with people in Argentina about this, you know, chatting with them on messaging. And yeah, a lot of the subsidies have been cut. For example, electric bills have just gone up a lot because in the past, electric bills were subsidized by the government, and they took those subsidies away. And so all of a sudden, people are getting their electric bills, and they're going up a lot. Now here in Portland, our electricity bills went up, and it had nothing to do with getting rid of any subsidies. It was just the electric company just decided, you know what? We need to charge 28% more. I don't know about you, but I'm not making 28% more than I did. So, yeah. Anyway. But the thing here is, this just shows how important a bold leader could be, right? A bold leader like Milei went in and totally changed the course of that country. Now, we'll have to see if it will be for the positive or for the negative. I'm leaning toward the positive. I think that this is going to be a great change for Argentina, and I think they're going to come roaring back. That's my belief, but I don't know how it'll work out. Obviously, I'm rooting for that. And the great thing about this is we can see if this works in Argentina, then perhaps someone will be as bold to try that here. No, they won't. Americans aren't going to vote somebody in that's going to say we need to cut subsidies for people. We need to have less stuff, and we need to, you know, that we're going to have some tough times to save the country. That's that would never get elected. You notice that not a single politician is talking about either the national debt or the national deficit. Now, the deficit, right, is like the budget deficit, right? That would be the yearly deficit of the United States, how much more the United States spends than it takes in. Currently, in 2024, we've surpassed $1 trillion in the hole, right, deficit so far this year in April. It looks like it's about, on average now, about $1 trillion every 100 days. Yikes. That's not good. That's not a good budget. If just think of it. If you had a budget and you were spending that much more than you brought in, whoo. Well, I make $100,000. How much do you spend, Tom? Well, I spend $150,000. Doesn't work really well with individuals, but you know, we're a country, we got a big military, and I don't know, we're able to to fortify this house of cards for a long time. And you think, well, what are some things that we could do to you know, save the country from this budget deficit, from the national debt? I've tried to look up some estimates for just illegal immigration in the U.S. and how much that costs everyone. I can't find anyone that can even agree on a number of people that are here illegally. You know, it's like 17 to 29 million. The amazing thing is the number hasn't really grown in the last 30 years, and I don't believe that. So I personally believe that the number exceeds 30 million. But the fact that we don't even know how many people are here is just kind of nuts. So then it's hard to really figure out how much is spent. How much are we adding to the national debt to pay for this? And they can't even agree on that, but it looks to be about $500 million. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say billion? I meant $500 billion a year on illegal immigration. $500 billion a year. Yikes. Now, I mean, again, that's not all of it, because we probably go up over, you know, $3.5 trillion a year. But $500 billion a year is a lot. That turns out to be, oh, I don't know, a couple $1,000s in taxes per taxpayer per year. So, yeah. I don't know, but no one seems to be talking about it. I'm excited that Argentina is doing something, so we'll just have to see what happens there. Anyway, it's a Friday. It's a Fact Check Friday. I've got an interesting idea coming up for the fact check. But let's get to some other news. Let's start off with some conspiracy. Yeah, I think that's just a little razor burn. He was accused of having a hickey. No, probably need a date first to have that. Well, George Soros is paying student radicals who are fueling national explosion in anti-Israel protests. Sounds like a conspiracy to me. Let's read the article here. George Soros and associated groups are funding and organizing anti-Israel protests on college campuses across the U.S. These protests, initiated by Students for Justice in Palestine, have spread to various universities, including Harvard, Yale, Berkeley, and others. Protesters are reportedly paid radicals encouraged by Soros-funded organizations like the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. Specific individuals named as recipients of funding include a number of people on the screen here whose names are hard to pronounce, so I'm not going to try. But they've been involved in organizing and participating in protests. So anyway, this article that I read suggests that Soros's financial support, routed through various intermediaries, is essential for sustaining these protests. However, should be noted that the claims made could be contentious and can't be totally verified 100% by everybody. So this is how it works. George Soros works very closely, very similarly. Lots of plausible deniability. Now, who else does things through other groups where they don't get their hands dirty, but they fund groups that do things that they want? That's kind of our State Department, our CIA, right? The CIA, we don't go out and run these protests in other countries to foment revolution, right? We fund NGOs, international groups, different nonprofits. That's what the CIA funds, those groups, and then they do the protests. So they're not directly tied to it. In the same way, George Soros is using the exact same strategy where he's funding these groups, and these groups are then funding the protests. But George Soros isn't directly funding the protests. He's just funding the groups that happen to be funding all of these protests. It's as if he's got the same playbook as the CIA. Huh, interesting. Wonder if there's any connections there. I don't know. So those people that will say this is a conspiracy theory, they're saying there's no direct evidence that George Soros is directing them to protest. No, he just happens to fund the group, and then the group just chooses to do that. And then he continues to fund the group, but he doesn't have any say in it. Anyway, depending on your news feed, you know, you can go to the New York Post and you can read all about this, or if you got a left-wing news feed, good luck finding the article. Anyway, next we got an interesting situation with Antony Blinkin. So, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinkin expressed concerns about Chinese attempts to influence upcoming U.S. elections, despite an earlier commitment from Chinese leader Xi Jinping not to interfere. Blinken also addressed U.S.-China relations, Chinese support for Russia amid the Ukraine conflict, protests in the U.S., and efforts to resolve the conflict in Gaza, including potential normalization of Israel and Saudi Arabia. Now, this is interesting because this interview was on CNN. CNN did an interview with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and he's saying, you know what? Well, we pushed the Russians. We're doing everything to interfere in the elections. We need something new. Now maybe it's the Chinese that are doing it. Well, I mean, the Chinese are running TikTok, and we can see what effect that has had on many people in the U.S. But I have to wonder, who does Antony Blinken think that China is going to be promoting with election interference? Right? Blinken is the Secretary of State under Joe Biden. Does he somehow think that China is pushing for Trump? Because would that make sense? I don't know. I guess. I mean, have I heard about Trump taking millions and millions of dollars of payouts from China? I don't know. I can't remember. There was some politician, I think, that's been accused of that. Seemed to be some pretty legit evidence on that, but I can't remember who it was. But I'm just curious as to why Blinken is even saying this. What's the strategy here? I don't even know. And most of the time I can figure out what their strategy is. Most of the time it's pretty easy. But with this one, not so much. Anyway, it's a Friday. It's a Fact Check Friday. I want to talk about an idea in fact checking. It's called Prebunking. Okay, so Google is launching a series of short animated videos across Europe to educate voters about online manipulation tactics ahead of the EU parliamentary elections. The initiative, termed Prebunking, aims to help people recognize and resist misinformation by highlighting common manipulation techniques without directly addressing specific political issues and candidates. The videos focus on concepts like decontextualization and scapegoating, aiming to build mental defenses against manipulation similar to how vaccines prevent disease. Yeah, you heard it right here, folks. While Prebunking shows promise, it's not a cure-all. It's effectiveness may vary. Jigsaw, a unit within Google, is leading this pre-bunking effort in collaboration with various partners across the EU. So anyway, this whole pre-bunking is an interesting idea, and I wanted to tell you about that. So the idea with pre-bunking, and I don't know why Google would try to make people think more critically and be a little bit more suspicious of the news that they get. That seems to go against their MO, their business practice here. Let's see, where is this? Oh, did I have it on this other browser? Huh, not there. Okay. So the idea of pre-bunking is teaching people how to be curious, not curious, but to be skeptical before reading an article, just by looking at the headlines, okay? So you can even go, if you like to, there's the website is prebunking.withgoogle.com. And they have some different techniques. So here's some common manipulation techniques. So the idea here is when you see a meme, when you see a story with just a picture and a headline, look at it before you even read the article and see if you can see if they're using emotional language, if they're cherry picking, if they've done a false dichotomy, which means it's either this or it's this. And if you can recognize those things, then you should be more skeptical of the article that follows. That's the basic idea in pre-bunking, is you just look at the headline, you look at the picture, and then you can determine if it's being manipulative before you even read the article. That's the basic idea to a pre-bunk. I don't think people are going to do this, right? I don't think people are going to see a picture, see a headline, read the headline and say, okay, let me look and see if I can determine if they're using any common manipulation techniques before reading the article. Most people don't even read the article. And if they're not even going to read the article, I don't think that they're going to look at this and decide, oh, they could be cherry picking the statistics in this headline. I just don't think most people are going to do that. But that's the idea behind pre-bunking. I don't know why Google would try to do this, to try to educate people on how to be better consumers of news, but that is what this initiative is for. One concept that I could just explain easily, I guess, would be decontextualization. So in this case, you may have a headline such as like student protests on campus lead to violence or something like that, and then you have a picture, but the picture might be from like violent protests in Europe that happened a year ago. Okay, so the decontextualization is when they're putting text next to charts or pictures that don't necessarily coincide with what it is. And that is a way to manipulate people. This is done a lot in the media. They do this all the time. So that's one thing that you can be on the lookout for. And if you do that, then you can be a good pre-bunker. Anyway, that's that's the basic idea. Now, I do have a follow-up from a story that I did a couple months ago about the city of Venice. So, Venice, Italy, beautiful, beautiful city, has implemented a fee for day tourists to visit its historic canals and attractions on peak days, aiming to combat over-tourism. The fee, around $5.50, applies to the 29 busiest days from April 25th through July 14th. In a trial phase, tourists staying overnight or meeting certain criteria are exempt. The mayor Luigi, real name, calls it an experiment to protect the city. However, experts doubt its effectiveness in reducing crowds or covering associated costs. Some residents protested the policy, reflecting concerns about the city's fragile state due to mass tourism. So they're trying something new. Again, it's always good to try things. You try them out, see if they work. If they work, you can do more of it. If it doesn't work, you can do less of it. I encourage cities to try things. But I just think slapping more fees on it, maybe that would work. Although, if I were traveling Europe and I wanted to go see Venice and check Venice off of my bucket list or whatever, I want to go check out the cathedral and the gondolas, whatnot. Would a fee keep you from going there? If there were a fee to visit Machu Picchu, it's like, well, it's going to cost you an extra $20. Is that going to stop anyone? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Although it may curb the number of people going there. Obviously, you charge more for something, less people are going to do it, right? But I don't think it's necessarily going to work. It wouldn't stop me, right? I mean, if I'm traveling Italy and I want to go to Venice, well, and they go, oh, well, Venice costs, let's say it was $100. It costs an extra $100 to go to Venice. I'd be like, all right, well, want to see Venice. Now, it may keep me from going back to Venice a second or a third time, sure. But I don't know. You got to do something. But if they're going to do something about the tourists, I say they've got to do something about the pigeons. Have you seen the pigeons in Venice? Oh my goodness, there are way, way too many pigeons. I was at the Cathedral Square there, and you couldn't walk. There were so many pigeons, you were just like walking through a sea of pigeons. I had like fantasies about being like a pigeon killer or something after that. There were so many. So maybe start with the pigeons, and then you can go to the tourists. Anyway, we need some positive news. So let's get to the positive news story of the day. So, two Russian cosmonauts, Oleg and Nikolai, they efficiently completed a spacewalk on the International Space Station, accomplishing all tasks ahead of schedule. They successfully deployed the fourth panel for the radar communication system of the Russian Naka model, which previously malfunctioned. The radar will monitor Earth's environment and is the first science payload for this vehicle. Additionally, they performed other tasks and set up some stuff for future spacewalk activities. The spacewalk lasted 4 hours and 36 minutes, finishing ahead of its planned duration of 7 hours. This marked the 270th spacewalk in support of the ISS. And so both these guys, it wasn't their first one. They've totaled the one guy, Kononikado, whatever his name is, he's been 44 hours and 30 minutes in spacewalks so far. So that's pretty impressive. Now, this was interesting. This was carried live on NASA's website. NASA did a live stream while they were doing it. What I found interesting is right here, this is a picture from NASA's site, but I actually turned it upside down because for whatever reason, when this was posted on the NASA website, they had the whole thing upside down, and it was a bit off-putting. It's kind of weird. Does NASA ever put American astronauts upside down? No, they're always right side up. It's interesting that the Russian cosmonaut, they just turned them upside down for the picture. I just thought that was kind of odd. You don't need to do that, NASA. We're all in this together, at least, maybe not on Earth, but in space. All the countries are working together. And I think that is something that we can celebrate. That's something that we can feel positive about, even if we're at war or proxy war with countries. I said companies. Like I'm living in a company. No. I'm living in a country, despite the fact that it seems like a lot of the money is going to companies. No. I live in a country, and despite the fact that we're in a proxy war with other countries, we can get along in space. And so that's a nice change of perspective, just to think about things. We can't have peace on Earth. Maybe we can have peace in space. So there we go. That's something to think about. Anyway, that's all I've prepared. Stick around for the after show. I'll go through all your comments and all that good stuff. I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. Is the sun shining? The sun is shining, although I can't see it through all of the gray clouds. So anyway, I'll see you in the after show, and I'll be back on Monday. Till then, peace. Here we go. Where? Too many windows. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. I'll go through all the live chat on Rumble. Yeah. This is weird. On Rumble, I don't have a single view. So I'm not sure if I did something wrong today. But the fact that I didn't get a single view for this stream kind of tells me maybe I have one of the settings wrong. Oh well, something else to look at. Anyway, what's happening YouTube? Nice to see everyone. Natasha Bastille, what's up? Lucid, cool to see you all. CIA can interfere arbitrarily. Well, I don't think that's what it stands for. But, good joke. Blinkin does as he's told. That is true. Blinkin seems very weird to me. I don't know. Every time I see that guy, it could be natural, but it looks like he's wearing like eyeliner every time I see him. It's a little off-putting. Not that a male Secretary of State can't wear eyeliner. But it's a little weird. What would transbunking mean? Perhaps rewriting history, 1984 style. Perhaps. Lucid says, I got smarter debunking other people's facts. Good. I think Mayor Luigi was a plumber once. Very well could have been. And yes, I did see the cut on my neck. Got to pay attention when I'm shaving better. I got smarter by sitting back and not participating in billions of people getting dumber. And there's an emoji that you can look at. Maybe we're actually watching it upside down, Tom. Maybe I was actually watching it upside down. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. No, I just found it interesting that when all the published stories of this went out, that all of the pictures from NASA had the astronauts upside down. That was just kind of weird. I don't know. It seems kind of manipulative, but I could just be reading into it too much. Hey y'all, can't stay in chat, but gotta support CNN. Coffee and Nuance, at least with a view, listen, and a thumbs up. Thanks, MMA. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate. NASA means to deceive in Hebrew. Okay. I'm calling BS on space. Well, I think space is real. I think space is real. Yeah, MMA. Thanks for popping in, saying hi. There was an interesting guy on Joe Rogan yesterday. Named Bart Sibrel. He's a filmmaker and investigative journalist. And he has a film called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, and Astronauts Gone Wild. It's an investigation into the authenticity of the moon landing. So you may be interested in that. He was on Joe Rogan yesterday, and you can find Joe Rogan on all the platforms. He doesn't need any promotion from me. But it's an interesting talk. You might pique your interest. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, that's all I have prepared today. I've looking forward to this weekend. I got a lot to do. A lot to do today. So I'm going to get to it. I hope that you can all get to it. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll be back on Monday. Thanks for the support. If you hit the like button, I appreciate you for doing that. Means more than you think. Anyway, have a glorious weekend. Until then, peace.